really appreciate all of you always taking the time, making the time to join us for Coffee with the Principal or any meetings that we have for our parents. It's always so important to make sure we keep the lines of communication open, especially during these times where we're not able to see each other live on campus. All the more important for us to be able to communicate with one another as best possible. So I always start the meeting with a little icebreaker. And what I'd like for us to do is, I'm going to pose a question, but I want to first make you realize that, and maybe some of you are aware, but Sweetwater High School had its birthday. Just like we have our birthday, Sweetwater High School had its birthday this last Sunday, August 30th of 2020, and Sweetwater High School turned 100 years old. So it's official that we celebrated our centennial birthday. Sweetwater High School is 100 years old. We're the second oldest school in the entire county of San Diego, behind San Diego High School. And that's quite an accomplishment when you think about 100 years worth of educating students, graduating students, building a sense of community, sense of family in our community of National City. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment, and we all get to be a part of it. Every single one of you, parents, students, staff members, we're all a part of this outstanding history. So here's my question to you, because we have 100 years worth of history. So if you can put your answer in the chat box, what is your favorite thing about Sweetwater High School? It can be anything. What is your favorite thing about Sweetwater High School? So I'll give you a minute to think about it and then put it in the chat box. Great, I see some responses coming in, so don't be shy. Anything you'd like to know. What's your favorite thing about Sweetwater High School? ¿Qué es lo favorito que les gusta de la escuela Sweetwater? So I see community feel and knowing our kids' futures are in fantastic hands. That's quite an honor for you to say that. Thank you. That says a lot about our staff. That we speak Spanish, that's always important. Communication, parent involvement, I agree. Our parents are key. Our amazing students, I agree 100%. Very good. Well, and teachers, absolutely. We have fantastic teachers. We do. They were my teachers when I was in high school, so I agree 100%. I was a student at Sweetwater High School, and I loved them then, and I love them now. Okay, keep those answers coming. Keep those answers coming. So to stay on our agenda, we're going to go ahead and continue to share our screen here. I think Mr. Hernandez is sharing the PowerPoint, and we'll go on to the next item.
Our next speaker is Mr. Nathan Horner.
Yes.
If you need to reintroduce yourself, Mr. Horner, while we get the screen up.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to a 3-day weekend. Thank you, Ms. Cuellar, for inviting me to speak here today. One of the things that I really wanted to focus on today in our meeting is to go over the Student and Parent Handbook. I think there's a presentation that we'll be pulling up here in just a moment, and where I can kind of run through some of the key elements of that Student and Parent Handbook. But I think this is really a document that can be kind of underutilized at times. There's a lot of answers to questions that you may have in this document. There's a lot of contact information, a lot of just really good nuts and bolts information for you as a community to have, especially as it relates to your students and contacting the school and things like that. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes, and once again, thank you, Ms. Cuellar, for giving me that opportunity to go through that so that you know where to find it and everything like that, so that you can access this in the future. So the Student and Parent Handbook, the easiest place probably to find it is actually on our school website. I did input some other slides. It doesn't look like they quite made it in here, but that's okay. But if you go to our main page of our website, if you click on the Students tab, and then you'll see as you scroll down on the right-hand side, there's a link that says Student and Parent Handbook. And I double-checked this morning to make sure it's there. The updated one is there, and it's good to go. And that means that you can find it and be able to access that at any time, right? So thank you, Eric. It looks like he's scrolling there for us. So if you click on that student page right there, that tab, and then as you scroll down on the right-hand side of the screen, you see ASB, alumni, etc. And then down there, Student and Parent Handbook after the underneath that Red Devils After Dark. And so that is where you can find this document. We will also be, of course, sharing it through Jupiter Grades. We'll send it out through Infinite Campus. We're going to post it anywhere and everywhere that we can so that it's as easy as possible for you to find. So Mr. Hernandez, if you wouldn't mind going ahead and jump to that next slide there. Yes, so just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what this document is and kind of the purpose it serves. It is a great resource. It serves as a resource for the Sweetwater High School community. It can answer a lot of questions that you may have. It provides you with contact information. You know, you're wondering, I have an attendance question. Who am I supposed to contact? I have a question regarding counselors. What is that number for the counselor again? It allows you to stay up to date with some of the dates and the events. And I'll talk about that here in just a moment. And there's much, much more information beyond that. So if we could go ahead and go to the next slide. This is not what the document looks like, but just to kind of give you a sense of some of the kinds of information that is in there on this slide, this is the table of contents. And so once again, I really encourage you to not use this slide, of course, as your reference point, but when you access that document, you'll see this is the kind of information that will be on there. On the first page, we have the directory of office personnel. We have our mission statement, the alma mater. We have information regarding community service. We have information regarding attendance policy, lunch applications, a school map. We have our bell schedule, including the distance learning bell schedule that we're in right now. So it really is intended to be a one-stop shop for you to find any information that you're looking for. Of course, you know, there'll be things that you'll have to give us that call, you'll have to give us that email about specific things. But if you're wondering some of this generic information that's school-wide, this is absolutely where you can find that. So Mr. Hernandez, if you go to the next slide, that will actually show our directory. Once again, it's all formatted nicely on the document, but this shows you the kind of information. You have the administration's phone numbers where you can contact administration, our attendance technician. If your son or daughter has a dentist appointment, a doctor's appointment, you need to excuse them, whatever it may be, the number to call for that, and all on down the line to the library. Even Mr. Hernandez's number is right there on there for the bilingual tester. So that's your communication, your contact information there. So just to, go ahead and click on the next one, Mr. Hernandez, thank you. And so I'll just kind of run through these really quickly, these slides. This is just some images that I grabbed from that document to kind of show you the kinds of information that is on there. We have, and you know, one of the things that I did want to mention too, as you can understand, everything in life is flexible right now, right? As we're going through this, you know, COVID-19 situation. And so this document itself is kind of flexible too, as you know, it's in, we wanted to provide information that is pertinent to when the students are back on campus primarily, because we're hoping that sooner rather than later, right? But we also I did update it with some information that's specific to distance learning. So, you know, when we do return back to school, we have some information regarding some of the tutoring that will take place, those opportunities. Our course selection process as that goes with the counselors. We could go ahead and jump to the next slide. Some other information is regarding, not that we love to talk about this too much, and I'm sure your son or daughter would never be in this situation, right? But just some information regarding dress code, you know, our expectations for the way that students dress. Now that is something that is pertinent actually to distance learning. We may not think that, but Although students are not required to have their camera on, some students do choose to have their camera on, and we do want students to, of course, they are still expected to dress in a way that is appropriate. And you know, if they're displaying on the camera during their Google Meet sessions with their teacher and things like that. Other things, just so you have that information regarding, you know, possible administrative disciplinary action, things like that. Once again, that could be pertinent to this time, but of course it does become more pertinent as we return back to campus in the future. We could go ahead and jump to the next slide, Mr. Hernandez. Thank you, sir. Something that's really, really important, regardless of distance learning or not, is the attendance policy, right? We really want to make sure, as that little picture says, 90% of success is showing up, and we truly do believe that. It is incredibly difficult to do well in students' classes when, if they are not able to attend those classes, right? And so we really want to make sure that, that you're paying attention to that, that you're aware of that attendance policy. We also have that contact information on there for our attendance technician, Ms. Nakashima, and our new attendance coordinator, which is Mr. Lara. He is new to our campus this year, but he's a really awesome guy. He's been around in our district for a long time, very knowledgeable, and he is there to help us with everything regarding attendance. I think we lost our presentation there briefly, at least in terms of seeing it there. I don't know, Mr. Hernandez, if you're able to scroll down to that next slide. But some of the other information that I can just share with you, you know, in working on this document recently. Oh, thank you. I know it's nice to have that visual instead of just me talking about it, right? So here's some information regarding ASB. I know Ms. Morris is working really hard, even during this distance time, to get students connected, right? So we still have, you know, club meetings and things like that. There's still ways for students to get connected even during this time of distance learning, and we really encourage students to get connected. You know, even just simple things like checking in on the ASB Instagram page and things like that. That will allow the students to get connected so that we're not starting from scratch, you know, when we get back to campus, that those connections are already there, and for students to stay connected with those relationships that they already have. And it's a really, really important for all students to be connected with their school campus. And that's kind of some of the things that, you know, we saw in those responses, is that to Ms. Gavin's question, you know, what do we love about Sioux High? And it's the community, right? It's the community feel, the tight-knit community. And for our students, that's one of the ways that they can really get tied in and connected with the community, is to be able to get involved. So we always are looking for that with ASB. Just going on down the list, I think I lost that presentation again there, but that's okay. I think Mr. Hernandez is working on that. But some other information that you'll find in that document when you reference it off the website, or you see it on Jupiter Grades email, things like that, is you'll see we have our school map, which is good to know. You know, that's the next slide there. It has our even some of our, you know, if we have to evacuate and things like that. I know that's kind of hard to read, but that shows the arrows that are utilized for our evacuation routes and things. That's, of course, posted all over the campus so that they're easy to reference while on campus. If we go to the next slide, that's important dates to remember. Once again, with the flexibility in mind, you know, some of these have been updated based on our new calendar and things like that with our time of distance learning. Some of these are kind of hope tos. You know, we're hoping that if we're back on campus, we can hold this event and things like that. But all of these are kind of tentative based on if we're still distance learning or if we're back on campus. And then finally, we have two more slides. The last one is just a reference point for you. We have one of these for every month of the school year. So Ms. Morris updated these for us. Once again, some of this information is more of the hope to. If we're on campus, these things will apply. But we have back to school night, which was just last night. You can see that on there. The meeting we're in right now, Coffee with the Principal, is on there. And so that's a great resource for you to go all the way from, it actually started in July of 2020, and you can go all the way to June of 2021 to see, have that look ahead to see what events are coming up. One of the ones I could highlight that's coming up that you may want to have on your radar is 6-week progress report, which is next, not next Friday, but 2 weeks from today, September 18th. And so really great resource for you. If you could save it on your desktop, I don't know, it's 40 pages long. I don't know if you want to print that, but it could be something that you may print out so that you have that information at home to be able to reference. And then finally, we have our parent involvement policy, which is something that that I wanted to tie into this document. I know Ms. Cuellar, I believe, shares this information out as well through different ways, but really for us, we truly do believe that it takes a village, right, to raise a child. So, you know, we are dedicated, we love your children, we're dedicated to serving your children, but we really want your involvement as well in that piece, because all the studies show, and we've seen it with our own eyes, that parents that are involved, which thank you, you're here today, that shows me that you're involved. Parents that are involved, it has such an exponential factor, positive factor on their kids' involvement in school and their success in school. And so we just really want to reemphasize that, and that's included in this document as well. Ms. Cuellar, is there anything I missed regarding that parent involvement policy that you'd like to go over further, or?
No, that was perfect, Mr. Horner. I definitely want to emphasize how we are equal partners in your child's education. And, you know, by being here today, there's 37 of us here present today. That's part of your involvement, staying informed, getting as much information as you can. And then we help each other out. Whatever we find here, we share with other parents, other students, and then just opening up that line of communication. So thank you everyone for being here. And this is a good start to our parent involvement. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time to speak about that.
Next on our agenda, we were going to give technology tips. As many of you know, we are using Google Classroom as our learning platform and Jupyter Grades to receive information, messages from students, and keep our grades in Jupyter Grades, as well as Infinite Campus for attendance. And I know it may be a little bit overwhelming. It is for all of us. So we're learning the technology. We're using it right now, and it's a great way to keep up with the latest. So I just wanted to share a few tips if you weren't familiar with Google Classroom and Jupyter Grades. I do have a little presentation for you, which is like 4 slides on my end. I have a quick student login cheat sheet where it shows you, it'll come up in a moment, it shows you how to log into the computer. So the student needs their full email and their 8-digit birth date. There's how to get into their Google Drive, well, student email, as well as their 8-digit birthday. How to log into Infinite Campus. It's their ID and their 8-digit birthday. So their birthday is very important here. For Jupyter Grades, it's a name or ID, and they have to set their own password. If they do forget it, they just need to click on the forgot password, and they'll be able to get it with a different email. Okay. On the next slide, wanted to share with you a little bit about Google Classroom. I'm not sure if any of you have kind of checked out the different classes and see what the platform looks like for the students. It's a very organized platform where students are able to check the Google Classroom page. There's a wall where we keep information. There's an area where we organize our assignments, activities, and there are different resources. So most teachers will have their syllabus and the resource topics. And then we, as teachers, sent our classroom codes to students via Jupyter Grades. So only if you're enrolled in that classroom will you receive a classroom code. And the classroom code allows you into that classroom and to join the meetings, which we use Google Meet, just like the one that we're using right now. The content is organized by week, And to access their classwork, there's a tab that says classwork. So they can click on classwork and see what they have submitted and what they haven't submitted. So next slide. Here is what my main page for my classroom. I teach a health class. And so every morning I leave announcements early enough or any other important information. Our counselors have a Wellness Wednesday tip, and because I teach health, I always encourage them to check those messages and read them, and I'll post them on my classroom wall because we'll talk a little bit about the topic because it's related to our class. And then it'll just kind of share on the side, you know, any upcoming homework that's due. Students can leave messages or ask questions about anything that's on that wall, posted on that wall. Right where it says Health Period 3, Claire Martinez, it says class code. I covered mine, but that's where they can see their class code. And then if they want to meet for the link, when they're going to meet with their teacher, they click there and it takes them straight to a platform like what we're using right now. On our next slide, I give you a little information on how to view students' work. So they would have to enter the classroom tab, view their work, and it'll tell them there if it's been graded, missing, and they have to mark that it's done in order for us teachers to know that the homework or classwork was completed. Okay, so obviously if any students have questions with their teachers, we're all learning this. Just kind of have that communication. Oh, I've been doing the work and, you know, I forgot to mark done. So if that was the case, then okay, we learn and we are able to give them credit for any assignments that they may be missing. But if there are any issues, students can reach out via Jupiter Grades or email their teachers. And the next topic is Jupiter Grades, and Ms. Denise Iniguez is going to give you a brief update on Jupiter Grades.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Denise Iniguez, and I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the benefits of creating a Jupiter Grades account. Do we have the slide, Eric? Okay, while he gets the Jupiter Grades slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about Jupiter Grades. It's a great way to monitor your students' academic progress. And also, when you log into the Jupiter Ed website anytime, let's see, sorry, I'm waiting for so we can get on the. Okay, perfect. Okay, so if you want to look for Jupiter Grades, an easy way is to go on Google and just type in Jupiter Grades, and then you'll see the link, which is showing up on the screen. And on Jupiter Grades, you can view your students' current grades, homework, missing assignments, and test scores for your students. And also, when you log in, it's very important that you click the parent tab because there's a student, parent, staff. So make sure that you click on the parent tab. And you're going to type in your student's first and last name, or you can also type in the ID number and it'll work. And you will then type in your temporary password. If you do not have your temporary password, I can help you out. And then it will ask you for the school name, which you will type in Sweetwater High School, city, national city, and state will be California. This is just for the first time that you log in. Once you have your account, it'll just be your student name and your password. And then the next slide, Eric. And then once you're in, it's going to show you different tabs on the left side, and you can click the more section, the to do, section, and then you'll be able to view the current student grades. And then just click on each subject to view any missing assignments, any test scores, and also Jupiter Grades is a very great way to communicate with your teachers. You can email them. So it's a lot of great benefits to have a Jupiter Grades account. And also I have attached a quick video, but it's a little bit long. There's a link. And if you need any additional support for Jupiter Grades, you can contact me, and my information is also below. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm not sure if Ms. Cuellar Martinez is coming on next, but I believe we are going to transition to our update from the Counseling Center. If Mr. Marco Garcia, our head counselor, if you can go ahead and give us an update on anything and everything that's going through our Counseling Center at this time.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? So like Dr. Gavin said, my name's Marco Garcia, and I have the honor of serving Sweetwater this year as head counselor. And all that really means is I'm the one that comes to these meetings and I report out, because we are a cohesive unit. We are a group of 8 counselors this year at Sweetwater. It's a nice sized group, but that's because we're a good sized school. So Sweetwater is one of the larger schools in the district. And because of that, we do our best to provide everything we can provide for our students to be able to keep up with the good sized school that Sweetwater is, and with all the needs and with everything that we may need. So as a counseling department, we continue to strive to do our best to provide all the supports to our students that we need to. I know a lot of times we don't know, so what do our counselors do? I know they're in those offices over there on the side, but what do they do? And I think that's a fair question. And a lot of times I think folks think that we're just the adults on campus that just change schedules, right? That's all we're doing, schedules and changing schedules and giving out classes. But I mean, the truth is we do a lot more than that. And I'm sure some of you may know, but for those that aren't aware, we also do our best to try to provide college and career guidance. We always speak to our students in what are your goals after high school. So that's something we continue to do every year. We definitely do the academic guidance in terms of classes, making sure that every student finishes their 4 years with their 44 credits that they need to graduate. In the end, that's our responsibility, and we make sure that as they climb in grade, they are taking the proper classes. I had a parent ask me in the breakout room yesterday at back to school night, how do I know my students taking the right classes? Because sometimes that can be a point of anxiety. Am I taking the right classes, both from students and parents? So I just want to let you know they're in good hands. That's part of our job. That's one of the main things that we do, is making sure that your student is taking the correct classes to graduate their senior year with their 44 credits. So we definitely do everything within the academic realm. And then our third big area that we focus on, that as the years have gone by, we notice it's an area we're focusing more and more on, and that is the social emotional. So we also do our best to provide that social emotional support. And that is with, our student population that is going through, anxiety, that is going through depression, suicidal ideation, all of those things that our young students, our teenagers are going through. And sometimes that's an aspect we disregard as parents or as staff, like, hey, come on, snap out of it. Get your grades up, start coming to school. You're not coming to school. You got a lot of absences. But, it's really our job to look beyond that and see, why isn't this student showing up to school? Why is this student secluding himself? What is going on to the students? So we want to let you know that as counselors, we have supports in place for that. If it's something we can't do on campus, we have a referral process with a lot of community agencies that are here to support our community as well. So just wanted to let you guys know those are the three big things. I know this is one of our first meetings. We're still at the beginning of the year, so I kind of wanted to throw all that out to you. I know it's a lot of information, but really that is who we are as a counseling department, and I wanted you guys as parents and as community to really know what we're here to do. In the weeks to come, so if there's any parents here right now that are parents of a senior, I just wanted to let you know that in the weeks to come, we're going to start to meet with all of our seniors. And what we do this every year. We meet with every senior and we do what we call a grad check. We're preparing them to finish this final year to be able to graduate in June, make sure all the credits are in line, see where they're at with community service. I know somebody mentioned community service earlier, to see where they're at with their community service, see more credits that I mentioned earlier, and make sure that everything's in line to as far as their graduation. So Eric, thank you for putting that up. So as you can see here on the screen, I hope everybody can see that. This is our Sioux High Counseling website. This is a website that Sioux High Counseling has created. We're lucky to have a very techie counselor on campus. That's Miss Elizabeth Luancin Garcia. She has put this together for us. It's a very comprehensive website that has everything that you need. So a lot of the things I just mentioned are on here. So I encourage you guys to visit this website. If you scroll up a little, Eric, please, the first video that we have here, and you don't have to click on it, Eric, but just so parents can kind of go, it's like an 8-minute video. So Ms. Elizabeth Luancin Garcia, she narrates it, but it does a great job of kind of giving an overview of our counseling center with a little more detail. So I encourage you guys to go in there and watch that little video. She put that together. It's current, it's up to date. It includes a lot of the adjustments that we've made for distance learning. Right under that, as you can see, that is our virtual counseling center. That little, and that's too techie for me. She created that, but it works. So it's a virtual counseling center, and you can click on any one of those links. I think if you hover over those, Eric, like you can see how you can click on any one of those links, and it takes you to what that is, whether it be college and career, academic resources, schedule change request. I think you, so I'm sure you guys can get on that. If you go up a little bit, Eric, you can see the tabs. I'm sorry, up toward the top. Perfect, thank you, Eric. So if you go up top, you definitely have all the tabs there where you can contact us on the Contact Us tab. All of our information is there. We have a community service tab there. Graduation requirements tells you exactly what the 44 credits are, talks about A through G. So I can go on and on, but I'll stop there. But definitely visit our website. As soon as I stop talking, I'm gonna jump on the chat box and I'm gonna put our link there so that parents can kind of link it from there. Or you can link from our main Sioux High page as well. So that's definitely a good resource. I just want to put that out there. Counselors are doing a lot constantly throughout the year. We do something for all grades. With the 9th graders, we're going to be meeting with them soon and start working on their 4-year plan. That means laying out a plan for them for the next 4 years. That's important for them because they're just starting. So we want them to have a vision as to what they're going to do in the next 4 years. So I know that's a lot in a short amount of time. As far as wellness, I know one of our counselors, she said, please talk to them about the Wellness Wednesday and our virtual wellness room. So when we're back at school, we have a wellness room in our counseling center where students are able to go if they're just not feeling good and they need some kind of support or some alone time. they can go to our wellness room where we provide support for them. Obviously, we're not on campus right now, so we've created a virtual wellness room that is also on our Sioux High Counseling page. So you can link onto that and you can find some resources there. So that's definitely something we always strive to do, is to provide that support in the social, emotional, especially during this time of the pandemic. Folks are home. We're all in front of a screen like we are right now, and at some point that starts to take a toll on our students, on our families. So we want to be there for you guys to support you in that way. I think that's awesome. Thank you.
Garcia, there was a question in the chat box in regards to community service hours. A question from a parent is, what happens if a student was not able to submit their community service hours due to the closure of schools?
Great question. Thank you. So this is just kind of an exception. So last year, so our class of 2020 and our class of 2021, which is this year, seniors, the community service requirement has been suspended. So, and that's due to the pandemic. That's due to students not being able to go out into their community to do their community service for obvious reasons. So last year's seniors, this year's seniors, that requirement has been suspended. So in terms of graduation, they don't have to worry about that. But for the grades to come, everything stays the same. There is the 30 hours of community service that is required for graduation per the state of California. Students that are looking to go to a four-year university, we ask that they do a little more, just because the universities really do look at that. So a student that is going to a four-year university will typically do about 100 hours of community service. So yeah, it's kind of a strange time right now because of the pandemic and the school closure and all of that. So right now, and I hope that answers the question, the community service requirement has been suspended for this year. They don't have to do it for graduation. Is there any more questions?
I think there was one more question in the chat at the very end.
Is that our classes updated on this new website? Class listings on the old website are not updated, and I think it's important for us students to have them available. We try to have those updated. If they are not updated, I personally haven't gone in to see if the classes have been updated, but I will make note of that, because I think you're right. It is important to have those class listings updated. Every year, there's a few adjustments, classes we don't offer, and then in a new year, we may have classes we do offer. So I will make sure that we go in there and that we update that list. Thank you. I see there's another one. My child is a junior this year. Do the hours she did just not count any more than? So no, they definitely count. So if she did hours and there was hours that she did and she had documented, let's say prior to the school closure, definitely submit those, and those hours will be counted and they will reflect on the transcript. And that's what's important, to be able to have those hours reflect on your child's transcript. So to answer your question, yes, they still count. Okay, that was it. Thank you. And again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your counselors.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Can we go to the next slide, Mr. Hernandez? Oh, now we have Parent Center updates with Ms. Alma Martinez. Don't forget to unmute yourself, Ms. Martinez.
Hi, good morning to Hi Parents. So I have a few announcements, and the first one is that we will have our first Title I in ELAC meeting on October 23rd at 8:30 a.m. and ELAC at 9:20 a.m. We will present the new committee. We will introduce the new parent committee. So take the opportunity to meet them, meet the parents who were elected by you, your vote, and who will represent you at school and at the district. So the other one is that we will have workshops, and we'll be including the topics that you suggest by when you complete the parent survey. So the presenters will be Andreina Cruz, a psychologist and family therapist, and San Isidro Health Center. Also, we have the I don't know if Mr. Garcia announced their workshops for parents. So remember, we have a workshop, counselor parent workshops, and the only thing that you have to do is go to the school website, look for the counselors website, and you can see they have already the date, so you can see and don't miss those workshops because are so good for our students and for you. And that's it. And also, don't forget to fill out the applications, the launch applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ana Martinez. Another quick announcement is that we have our 6-week progress report coming up in September 18th. So let's have our students complete all their work. Oops, Ms. Martinez, I'm going to put you on mute.
Yes.
I think it's creating something for me. So we want to make sure that our students are communicating with their teachers in case any work is missing or make up assignments. Just communicating with each teacher is very important at this point in time so that they receive something really good on their progress report, okay? And then now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Gavin for questions and answers.
Thank you, Ms. Cuellar Martinez. I know that when we send out the invitation to Coffee with the Principal, also on our website, we have a link where you have the opportunity to post any questions you may have, but you can certainly post them in the chat now if you didn't beforehand. But one of the questions that was posted that I want to address, and I was going to address anyway, because it is a hot topic, and that was in regards to student grades. As has been mentioned a few times now, is we do have the first progress report card, or 6-week progress report, coming out 2 weeks from today. So we are seeing, unfortunately, that a lot of students are getting low grades, and we understand why. This is a whole new platform for everyone, not just the students, but our families, even our staff. You know, this is a whole new way of teaching and learning for everybody. So, but that does not mean that, you know, we're going to be okay with our students' grades suffering because of that. That's still no excuse. So, you know, one of the questions that was posted was, you know, we have students who normally get A's and B's, students that in the past have performed really well, but all of a sudden they have D's and F's now. And it's not to say that even if a student who had D's and F's in the past, it's okay for them to have them now. It's not okay for any student to have a D or an F on in any of their classes. But especially when you're comparing the grades of a student who normally gets A's, and then now all of a sudden they have F's, that really says a lot about what's going on right now. And we are working really hard to address it. So at last month's faculty meeting, I did address this with staff and reminding them that we want to be compassionate and flexible with our students. We know that there are a lot of obstacles right now in this new platform of teaching and learning. And we want to make sure that our students feel supported, that they understand that even if they have a low grade now, there are ways to try to make it up. Just because they may have missed a deadline for an assignment doesn't mean it's forever gone where they can't resubmit that assignment for a better grade, or if they didn't submit it at all, you know, in the future to get a better grade overall. So I am meeting with the staff again this month for our faculty meeting. It's a week from Wednesday, and I'm going to continue to reinforce that. And I am sending messages that we try to find ways to get students to submit that work. I know there are a lot of times technical difficulties, and that gets in the way of students even being able to make it into class. And then if they're not able to make it into class, they should still be able to submit their work if they miss class. But like I said at the beginning of this meeting, communication is key. So if and when a student, especially if you as a parent, but have your student do this, because they're almost, you know, they're young adults, so they need to get in the practice of doing this. But if you want to also help as a parent, please communicate with each teacher. So whichever class your student may have missed and was not in attendance and therefore was not able to submit the classwork or even homework, please communicate with the teacher. Let them know, due to technical difficulties, my son or daughter was not able to submit this work on time or was not able to make it to class, but here it is. Or can you give us until the weekend, or can we turn it in a couple of days? So that is a type of flexibility that we continue to reinforce with our families and our staff, that we all need to be flexible. And so again, I'm going to continue to communicate that with our staff, because we are seeing a dip in grades. And a lot of that is due to students who are not attending class, and our administrators, counselors, support staff like Ms. Iniguez, Mr. Hernandez, Ms. Goya Martinez, we're all making phone calls, trying to reach out to our students, trying to figure out why they're not able to make it to class. We're not assuming that they're choosing not to go and that they're just in bed the whole day. As we make connections with them, we ask them, hey, we noticed that you haven't been in class. How can we help you? Is it due to technical difficulties? Do you not have internet access at home? Do you need a hotspot? Because the district is providing hotspots to our families. So whatever the issue or problem may be, please let us know, reach out to us, and we're going to help. And even if it doesn't have to do with technical difficulties, you know, students are letting us know, not a lot, but some are telling us, I'm sorry, Ms. Gavin, but I'm having to work, you know, to help out the family. And I work at the same time that I'm supposed to be in class. So we help support. We engage in that dialogue and try to figure something out. For example, how can we help support the family or provide any resources so that the student is able to go to school, is able to attend class, because that is important. But we also understand the importance of helping out our family. Going back to the question I asked at the beginning of the meeting, we understand that a lot of us love Sioux High because of the sense of family, the sense of support. And that's why that doesn't just reflect on campus or when we're talking about school, that's also reflected in the home. So if you need any of our support to help out with any resources, whether it's related to finances, housing, food, whatever it may be, just let us know and we'll try to figure out a way to help you. But again, going back to how this is all tied to grades, you know, when students are not able to attend class or they're not able to submit their assignments, unfortunately, it will reflect in their grade. Now, this is a progress report card. It is the first 6 weeks. We are doing everything possible to make sure that students have the opportunity to improve their grade and that teachers understand how they can provide those opportunities. So it's not just us putting it on the students and our families. We understand this is our responsibility as well. It's not just about us. Here's the work. Here, I'm showing up and teaching. Now, if you don't do the work, I'm sorry, I can't help you. No. If we have a lot of our students that are failing classes, that says something about the systems that we have in place. And if those systems are not working for our students, then that's a reflection of us and what we need to do to fix that for our families and specifically our students. I'll go back to the chat box and see if there are any other questions, or if anyone wants to unmute and ask the question, if you'd rather do that instead of putting it in the chat box.
There was a question for me. ¿Cuándo es el último día de entregar las hojas de lonche? When's the last day to turn in the lunch applications? Preferably as soon as possible. We do have until October 20th, but sometimes if we forget, we will miss the deadline. So encourage everyone to turn them in as soon as possible. You can do it through Infinite Campus, or you can stop by the school on Tuesdays or Fridays from is it 8 to 10, Mr. Horner? When they do the...
Yes, so Tuesdays and Fridays, 8 to 10, we have laptop and textbook distribution, which can also serve as a time to be able to pick up and drop off those lunch applications.
Yeah. So please, and if you do need help in filling it out, reach out to us. Denise, Eric, Hernandez, Denise Inigas, and myself can help you fill out those applications. Thank you.
One of the questions I see in the chat box is, why is it not obligatory to have the student be live on camera while in class? So that's a good question, because, you know, ideally, we do want to see our students' faces, especially when, I know when I'm in a meeting and if I don't see any faces, I'm wondering, are they there? Am I boring them? Are they falling asleep? You don't know. It's bad enough that we're not in person where we could feed off of each other's energy and engage with one another, but at minimum we would want to see faces. But the reason why it's not a rule to be on camera while in class is that we understand as a district and a community that there could be many different reasons why a student may not want to show their face or be live on camera. Some of them may have to do with them as a person. For example, if they're struggling, and I'm referring to real scenarios here, things that I've been made aware of, that if a student is struggling emotionally, they're suffering from anxiety, they're having a hard time, they're just barely making it out of bed to get onto their laptop and check into class, but it's visible in their face that they're struggling, well, they're not going to want their classmates or even their teacher to be able to see that, because it's going to be embarrassing to them. It's going to even add on to their anxiety. So that's one example, one of the reasons. Another one is sometimes, you know, our families live in households where there's a lot going on. There are multiple people in the same house. You know, there are the parents, other children. Some of them are online for their own school, you know, at a different school. There's a lot of traffic, you know, back and forth. And sometimes students, again, don't want that to be seen on camera. All the people behind them, it could be distracting, they figure, to other individuals that can see it. So they'd rather turn off their camera. They can still pay attention to the teacher. They can still see everybody else and see what the teacher is doing and hear and see the instruction here the teacher is providing. But that's another reason. So those are just a couple of examples why it's not a rule for students to be live on camera while in class. But there are ways that teachers make sure they are there. They ask them to either respond in the chat box or to submit an exit ticket, something where the student has to answer a question and submit it. So that tells the teacher, okay, you know, Maribel Gavin is in class, so she just submitted her response. I can check her as being present. So there are ways that we can work around attendance without having to be live on campus, or live on camera, I mean. Let's see. And then there's another statement or question about how sometimes classroom projects are sent into the wrong platform. Are teachers able to look for it if the child sends it again? The answer should be yes. Again, what I would do is if the teacher is having the students send it in through a certain platform, but for whatever reason it's not going through, and the student has a different way of submitting it, I would suggest that either the student or the parent, but primarily the student, send a message to the teacher saying, hey, Ms. Gavin, I tried sending you that project or that assignment the way you wanted me to, but it didn't go through. I'm going to send it to you via this platform. So as long as you're informing the teacher how you're sending it and why you weren't able to send it the other way, the way he or she asked, I think that should be okay. If there continues to be a problem or difficulty, please reach out to one of the counselors, your child's counselor, or an administrator, one of the assistant principals, or me, and we can try to connect you to the teacher, or we can communicate to the teacher what was happening. There's another statement here about how someone logged into their daughter's school email. Her password was her birthday, but she changed it. Not sure if this might be happening to other students. That's something we can share with our IT person on campus, see what might be happening, and if we need to communicate this to our students. But thank you for sharing that. Let's see, let me explain. I have to constantly checking on my son that is not falling asleep while in class because he blocked his live video. Okay, so then we see the opposite end of that. Because the student knows that they don't need to be live on video, they turn the video off, and then maybe they put their head down and they're taking a nap. So, I mean, unfortunately, the teachers do have some checkpoints throughout the period where students are required to check in on the chat box. Like I said, I know if I'm giving instruction, I wouldn't just do one question at the beginning like I did at the beginning of this meeting. I would probably put a question for students to respond to probably every 10 minutes, just to make sure that they're paying attention, not falling asleep. But unfortunately, we can't require students to be live on camera. You may require it of your student if you know that's the reason why. I mean, you're now the teacher at home, right? You're the person saying, look, son, look, mijo, you're falling asleep. I need you to be live. But again, we're not requiring it. So if the student does turn it off, we're not going to say, sorry, you're missing out, or we're going to count you as absent. On our end, we can't do that because that is part of the policy that our district put in place. And unfortunately, we can't say it's okay or we're going to make it an obligation for some students and not for others, because then that would be inequitable. And frankly, it would be too much for a teacher to have to manage to keep track of who is required to be live on camera because the parent is requiring it. If it's possible, I don't know if, I know this is easier said than done because I can't even imagine managing a household where you have multiple children going to school online and then you're working and you're managing your household. I know that's a lot, but unfortunately we can't require that of students. And I know there were questions about when the lunch applications were due. The sooner the better. The sooner the better. If you can get that lunch application into us, we can process it. Even if you think you may not qualify, our goal is to try to get all students to submit one way or the other. But they are due by October 20th, as Ms. Cuellar Martinez put in the chat box. That is the absolute latest, but if you can get it in sooner, that's better, because some of you may know this, some of you may not, but our school gets its funding based on the amount of students, percentage of students who submit lunch applications and qualify. So I know you may believe you don't qualify, but for our own purposes, we like everyone to submit one. That way we can check everyone off and we know, okay, we have 2,600 students at our school and 2,600 students have submitted their application. But let's say 100 have not. We don't assume that they don't qualify, and that may be the reason why parents didn't submit it, but we're then going to keep calling and emailing, asking, please turn it in, please turn it in. And so if you can just turn it in, that would be great. And again, we get our funding. Even if the students are not going to access breakfast or lunch or supper at school, let's say they bring their own lunch, it doesn't matter. It does help our school with its funding. And we use that money for tutoring, for needed classes, for resources, support for students, support for teachers in the classroom so they can help support students. That is where we get our money, and the more we can get, the better we can serve our students. Let's see, another one. Some teachers posted their class codes on their videos from last night. Does not seem safe. Those can be accessed from anyone because they are in the website. So I know teachers, or I don't know if Ms. Cuellar Martinez can speak to that since she's a teacher in the classroom in regards to those class codes being posted on the video. The concern is then anyone can access. My understanding is that even if they try to access, the teacher wouldn't let them in if they don't recognize the email.
Right, so we can change the settings and check to see who's on our roster, and if that student or whoever's trying to come in is not equal to the names that we have on Infinite Campus, then we're not going to allow them into the classroom. So they will be safe in Google Classroom and Google Meet. Like for example, right now, when we're having this meet, I'm like allowing people into the chat room. I don't know if it kind of gives you a message beforehand, you know, so-and-so is trying wait for them to let you in. And so that's how I've let people in.
Thank you. Okay, and speaking of, I want to mention this before I go on to the next question. We did have our back to school night last night, but there were some live sessions, like if you wanted information about our AP program or information about our support for students, sports, although, you know, we're not engaging in sports right now, but there was information about how we are planning potentially have sports in the future. Once we're given the green light and given the okay to open this option up for our students. So there were informational meetings last night. If you missed any of it, that's okay. We do have our PowerPoint on our school website. So if you go to our school website, you'll be able to access the PowerPoint that has the different information that was shared with families. And then also there, it'll direct you on how you can access the teacher video. So every teacher, because we weren't able to go to Campus Live and where you go into the teacher's classroom so you can meet your students' teachers, they each recorded a video, and that's also posted online. And if you go to our school website, it gives you directions on how to find those videos. And they're each about 10 minutes. Obviously, you don't need to sit down and watch all 6 at the same time, right? But when you can make the time, maybe watch 1 or 2 at a time, get to know your students' teachers. They cover information about requirements and their grading policies, and more importantly, at the very end, they share with you how you can communicate with them, whether it's via email or if you want to have an actual meeting, whether it's online or over the phone. You know, they'll let you know how you can get a hold of them, and that way you can have those meetings. Again, communication is key. And we don't like waiting until the end of the semester in December, when really there's not a whole lot of time to make a difference in a student's grade once we get to December. So now is the time, especially when those progress report cards come out in 2 weeks. We want to make sure we start communicating, okay, what can my son or daughter do? What support can you provide? So again, it's not just on the student, but it's asking the teacher questions. So what kind of support are you able to provide my son or daughter if they're struggling? You know, so it's a two-way street. You know, we do want to hold students accountable. They do have to do their part, but on our end, what are we doing to help you support your sons and daughters? So we want to make sure that you ask questions and that you tell us what is that need? What does your son or daughter need to be successful? The next question is about the new Friday schedule effective today. Yes. Will that be every week? Yes. So there was an adjustment made on the schedule. Here's why. The state of California has a minimum requirement for instructional minutes each day. So we need to have a minimum of 240 instructional minutes a day. So on Friday, as you recall, each period used to be 30 minutes. So 30 minutes times 6 classes is only 180 minutes. So we had to extend each class by 10 minutes. So now each class is 40 minutes long, and that was effective today. And because we wanted students to not have to start any earlier, we kind of wanted to keep their schedule the same. What we did is we moved teachers' PLC meeting time, which used to be at the end of the day, to the beginning of the day. So now teachers are meeting from 8:20 to 9:20 with each other, and then at 9:25, I believe, is when period 1 begins, and that is 40 minutes long. And then there's a passing period to then get to the next class. So we'll continue to send that bell schedule out as a reminder. Mr. Horner, if you wouldn't mind making a note of that, if we can send that bell schedule out again. I know we've sent it out, but it doesn't hurt to send it out again. It's the new bell schedule. And actually the one we reconfigured, actually one of our teachers graciously reconfigured it where it not only has the bell schedule, but it has all of the counselors listed by alphabet as far as their student alpha, and then all of the assistant principals and their emails or how to communicate with each of them. So that's all on one document that we can send out to our families again, just so you have it all there in one place. But that is effective today, and it will continue for the rest of the semester, or for as long as we're going to be in distance learning. But that gives us the minimum state requirements of 240 minutes a day. Let's see. Okay, so again, I'm getting questions in regards to communication with teachers that students are stressing out because, and it might be in one particular class or more, but it's in regards to submitting homework. Maybe it was late and it's been a couple weeks and the student emailed the teacher to ask if they graded it, but hasn't received a response. So I always enforce or ask that you communicate with your teachers, and if you don't get a response the first time, then please email them again. If you're still not getting a response, please feel free to include an administrator. It could be your student's assistant principal, it could be me, and it's just so that we can then follow up with the teacher. So maybe they're not getting the message, I'm not sure, or they need a reminder. Again, I'm not sure, but if after the second time you're still not getting a response, because we do ask teachers to respond to emails within 24, no more than 48 hours. So if after 48 hours you have not received a response, email them again. But if still you're not getting that response, include us, include any of the assistant principals, Mr. Horner, Ms. Gutierrez, Dr. Salazar, Ms. Morris, or me, Ms. Gavin. So include us in the communication, and we can help support you getting a response back, because the more time that goes by, then the harder it's going to be to understand where your student is in regards to grades, and we don't want that to happen. So please include us. Let's see, I checked Infinite Campus and I noticed too many absences but no phone calls to me. I've been right next to him every day, watching him or hearing him in class. I see him have his computer on at 8:50 and log off by 3 when he's done with homework. So if you notice there are absences and and thank you for checking. Thank you so much. I love it when parents are able to check students' attendance. And if you see there's an error, because mistakes do happen, especially now, because teachers they have many methods to try to take attendance and try to account for every student who is there, but it doesn't mean that either due to technical difficulties or something happened where they weren't able to notice a student there, they accidentally marked them absent. What you need to do is, if you notice that your student was marked absent, but they were in class, and even better, they submitted work that shows they were in class, please call the school and you'll ask to speak to the attendance tech, Miss Marie. So her full name is Marie Nakashima, but you can call her Miss Marie, and you can call the school and ask to speak to her, or if she's not physically on campus, they'll send her a message or connect you to her voicemail, and she checks, even if she's working from home, she checks her voicemails every day, and you can then, in that voicemail, or if you do get to speak to her, let her know what the issue is, and then she'll check. That's all she does all day. Every day, she's just making sure our attendance is accurate, making sure that if there were mistakes, that we fix them on our end, because we want to make sure our students' attendance is accurate. And the sooner you catch that, the better, because if and when we don't make that correction until weeks or months from now, it just makes it a little bit harder.
If I could interject there real quick, Miss Gavin, as well. Another way that you could go about that too is to contact the teacher, and then basically, kind of provide, if you can provide the date. I see that they were marked absent on, September 1st. I know that they were in attendance. Could you double check that for me? And then what they can do is that teacher can send an email to Miss Marie, and she'll just clear it right there. Because when she receives that note from that teacher that, I marked this student in error, can you please mark them present? Then she can change that immediately for them as well. So that's another option for you as well.
Thank you for clarifying, Mr. Horner. Absolutely. The teacher would probably be the first contact you'd want to make, because they're the ones that, if they made the mistake, they're the ones that can fix it. Absolutely. But also in relation to absences, if So let's say your student is absent because of technical difficulties. So let's say they try to log on, but the Wi-Fi wasn't working, and it just, because it happens to all of us, students and adults. We've had staff that say, I'm so sorry, but my technology at home just stopped. That wouldn't be a teacher fix. I mean, you can email the teacher and let them know, I'm sorry that my son wasn't able to attend class, we had technical difficulties, but to excuse the absence, because they are technically absent, to excuse the absence, you can call our attendance tech, Miss Marie, and then we can excuse the absence. It doesn't mean that we're going to mark them present, just like if they didn't physically go to class, we can't mark them that they were there. It would still be absent, but at least it's excused. We know that the parent called us or emailed us and let us know why they weren't able to go to class, and we can excuse the absence. So again, that's another type of absence that's occurred. Yes, Ms. Marie is very helpful, and she helped with an issue with an absence and answered my email in a timely manner. Thank you so much. We'll let her know. She is working so hard because, as you can imagine, there are a lot more absences or corrections to make. And so she is on her computer, on the phone all the time, making sure. And Ms. Iniguez just posted the direct line to Ms. Marie. So if you have any questions or concerns, please make sure you write this number down, put it on your refrigerator, make sure it's always accessible, 474-9703. And that way you can just go directly to her. If she's not physically on campus, it will go to her voicemail, but she's checking that all the time, checking it. So just because you don't get her live doesn't mean I'll just call back later. No, leave a message. If you leave a message, she's more likely to make the correction and let you know that it's been taken care of. Thank you all so much. I know we've gone quite a bit over, but that's okay. I want to make sure we answer all your questions. And don't wait until the next Coffee with the Principal. Remember, Coffee with the Principal is always the first Friday of the month, although in October, I believe it's a little different, right? Because we have the first week of October as our fall break. So let me go there right now, my calendar. I believe our next Coffee with the Principal would be on October 16th. I think that's correct, October 16th, because the week of, oh wait, but do we have Coffee with the Principal October 2nd, right, Ms. Cuellar Martinez? Because technically we're still in session. Yes, my apologies. So our next Coffee with the Principal, we do only have 1 week of fall break this year, 1 week. So the week of September 27th, the week of September 28th, I'm sorry, Monday the 28th through Friday, October 2nd. Friday, October 2nd is the last day of classes before we go on fall break. So I'm going to see you one more time before we go on fall break. So on Friday, October 2nd, we will meet here again. But if you have any questions before that, don't wait until a month from now. Please email us. That's the quickest and easiest way. If you email us, if you need to call, we'll also get those messages. But the quickest way to get a hold of us is via email if you're able. Okay, but I want to be able to answer your questions and not have a whole month go by. We like to get back to everyone as soon as possible. And all the administrators, myself included, we all answer emails within 24 hours. Personally, I even do that over the weekend. I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but for me, I just want to try to answer your questions as soon as possible. And I do check over the weekend as well. Okay? So thank you all so much. Have an outstanding 3-day weekend. Remember, we don't have classes on Monday. So students do report to class on Tuesday. And Tuesday is a 246 day. So remember, Tuesday is always a 246. So what Tuesday will be 246, Wednesday 135, Thursday 246, and next Friday will be 135 because we're losing 1 day. We took out the 1 through 6 day and we put Monday's 135 to Friday. So we sent that communication out to our families, and the students have been reminded by their teachers, Tuesday is a 246 day. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.